who is the CEO of Julia's House Hospice. That's a children's hospice in Dorset and Wiltshire in the UK. And Martin posed a question to the audience. He said, what's the biggest time waster in any organisation? And as you might expect, as he asked the audience what their thoughts were, a lot of people said email, a lot of people said meetings. And then he showed his next slide and he said that choosing the wrong things to do and then doing them really well was the biggest time waster in any organisation. Welcome to the Independent School Podcast. Thinking and acting strategically is the key to both securing the future of your school and helping to build a more equal and just world. My name's Juliet Corbett. I'm a consultant, speaker and facilitator specialising in helping independent schools. In this podcast, I translate tried and tested strategy and fundraising techniques into a language that works for schools. So if you're a senior leader in a private school and you want your daily work to feel less exhausting and more strategic, and if you want once more to feel the joy of making the world a better place through education, then you're in the right place. Welcome, and let's get started on this week's episode. Hello. Now this week we're going to be talking about doing the wrong things really, really well. Now, strategy is all about deciding what to do and what not to do. It's about focus. You hear me say that all the time. But I often come across schools who pride themselves on doing things really well. They've got really high professional standards that are consistent across all elements of the school. And they kind of congratulate themselves on that being a job well done. But sometimes what they've failed to do is to ask themselves about what they should be doing. Yes, they're doing it all really well, but are they doing the right things? And sometimes in an absence of a really good embedded strategy in a school can end up doing the wrong things really well. And actually that's a big problem. It causes staff exhaustion, it causes lack of focus. It means that you're not achieving what you can achieve as a school. And in this episode, we're going to be exploring how this happens and what it looks like, and more importantly, how to fix it. Before we dive into the detail, I wanted to let you know about a free resource I've created to help you prepare your school for the coming economic impact of the invasion of Ukraine. It's a checklist of things you need to think about and take action on now, and it's designed to prompt strategic conversations around the issues that actually matter. You can download your free copy at www.consultjuliet.co.uk/checklist. Okay, now let's continue with this week's episode. So back in 2019, I was sitting in a conference hall listening to Martin Edwards, who is the CEO of Julia's House Hospice. That's a children's hospice in Dorset and Wiltshire in the UK. And Martin posed a question to the audience. He said, what's the biggest time waster in any organisation? And as you might expect, as he asked the audience what their thoughts were, a lot of people said email, a lot of people said meetings. And then he showed his next slide and he said that choosing the wrong things to do and then doing them really well was the biggest time waster in any organisation. And although in that speech, I don't think Martin used the word strategy once, this is the core of strategy. Strategy is about choosing what to do and then doing it really, really well. But the biggest time waster is when you're doing the wrong things and doing those extremely well and putting time and resource into those wrong things. And I see this so often in schools. Schools with super high standards, which is obviously a good thing. They are really slick, they're efficient, they've got high attendance at all their events, both open events, alumni, school parent events, beautiful literature that goes out to all of their communities, a real sense that everything that leaves that school is perfect and that there's a high standard of really top-notch excellence across everything in the school. And obviously that's all a really good thing. Don't get me wrong, you need to have high standards as an independent school. But sometimes what happens is that that's then combined with absolutely exhausted staff who are trying to do this level of perfection for absolutely everything. And they're not making decisions about what not to do. They're trying to do everything at that really high level of professionalism. And I'll be honest, that was my personal experience. One of the organisations that I've worked at, I'm not going to name them, one of the organisations I've worked at, very, very high perfectionist culture within the school, and exhausted staff because no one was deciding where to focus those high standards on the activities that we were doing. So we were trying to just do everything at that high level. And one of the things that I come to realise that actually schools that have this type of attitude, actually it's even more important that these schools have strategy. It's even more important that they choose really consciously and deliberately and in a really strategic way what they're going to be doing. Because if they're doing everything to this really high standard, they have to decide in advance that these are the right things to be focusing their efforts on. So what I sometimes find is that schools that they may even have a strategic plan, but it's not focused enough. It doesn't give them the opportunity to say no, that they're not going to do certain activities or projects that people have ideas about. And so you can end up with these schools really patting themselves on the back, thinking things are going really well, but actually they are spreading themselves too thin. The exhausted staff are just running to keep up. And quite often it also means that those exhausted staff are not seeing new opportunities. They're not seeing the things that should be done. And sometimes it can also act as a kind of a brake on innovation, because if you don't want to do anything that's not top-notch perfect, then there's a real sense that we can't try new things because we don't know with confidence that we can deliver them at that high level of standards that we normally expect. So for a whole variety of reasons, this is it's a stumbling block. It's almost like a hidden pothole in the road. And it's a way that schools can sometimes misjudge their own capability and say things are going really well, when in actual fact they have a big gap in their capability around strategy and around focus. So if any of that resonates with you, keep listening. I'm going to talk about 3 ways that you can fix this problem within your school. So the first thing that you can do is to just constantly talk about the importance of focus. Now, you might have a strategy which has maybe already made some of those decisions around focus or not, but you can't do everything. You cannot do everything at that highest standard. So every time someone asks you to do something, or you're discussing as a senior leadership team all these different projects that you have on the go simultaneously, just start using the word focus. What are we focusing on this term? What is the thing that we must get absolutely right this term? Let's focus our efforts in on those particular projects. So especially in schools where strategy and strategic thinking and strategic opportunity and focus, if that terminology just doesn't work, particularly in your school or in your team, that's fine. I want to hear you use the word focus all the time in every team meeting. What are we focusing on at the moment? So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, to take that to the next level, it's not just about focusing in on specific projects. It's about linking every activity that you're spending time, money, resource on to its strategic objective. So you can constantly ask the question, what is our strategic objective here? What is it that we are trying to achieve? Why are we doing this? And if someone can't give you a really clear answer, or you can't work together as a team to create a really clear answer to that question, what is our objective? How does this serve us strategically? Then possibly you're doing something that doesn't need to happen. You need to focus your efforts in a different place. So constantly being able to think about, okay, so for example, we're running 5 events a year that all focus on the same alumni audience, kind of the older, often male alumnus who wants to come back, and we've got all these different events that focus on that one audience. What's our strategic objective here? Why do we need 5 events for this audience? Could we possibly rationalise that and introduce some events that are focused on other audiences, perhaps those that we are more actively fundraising from? So strategic objectives is really important, constantly to come back to that sense of what is our objective for this activity. And then the third thing you can do, you can only get so far without a really good, compelling, focused strategy. You've heard me say this a lot. You probably need to revisit your strategic plan. Now, it might be that you already have a strategic plan, but it's not distinctive enough. It's not giving you enough information to be able to select what you are going to do and what you're not going to do. And so you end up doing the wrong things really well. Or it might be that you don't actually have a strategy. Maybe you have a vision or some values or some ethos document or something around that kind of nature, but it lacks a real sense of an action plan, of your sense of what the strategic objectives for each year are going to be. Now, if that is the case, you want to either revisit your strategy or you want to start creating one when you don't have one at the moment, I'm going to refer you back to one of my other podcast episodes recently, which is episode 71, called Your Strategy Blueprint. So head back there and listen in on how you can really harness the power of strategy. And obviously, at any point, you can also contact me if you want some more personalised and kind of individual support for your school as you develop your strategy. So hopefully that's useful. If you're feeling like you are running ragged trying to do everything really, really, really well, this is what you need to be thinking about. You need to be thinking about the fact that it's possible that you're doing the wrong things really well, that there is a false sense of security that comes along with that. Those high professional standards feel good, but maybe it's possible that you're not focusing in on the right activities. And maybe that is the biggest time waster in your school as well, to use the words of Martin Edwards as he spoke in that conference hall back in 2019. Hopefully that's useful. As always, I love hearing your feedback, so let me know what resonates with you, and have a strategic week, and I look forward to talking to you again next time. Bye for now then. Thanks for listening to the Independent School Podcast, the podcast that helps senior leaders in private schools to think and act more strategically, both because they want to secure the future of their school and because they want to help build a more equal and just world. You can listen in everywhere that podcasts are available. And if you want to catch up on previous episodes or follow any of the links that I've mentioned today, just head over to www.consultjuliet.co.uk/podcast.